What's up, First Thing First listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to First Things First.
First things first, Eagles with a crazy asking price for Carson Wentz. Are they overvaluing their quarterback? Is LeBron really on track to win MVP in year 18? And Kyrie has some thoughts on why the Nets continue to struggle. Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. I am Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick, Brandon, and the birthday boy, the K-Man, Kevin Wiles. Happy birthday, buddy. Going to be a fun morning because you are in a good mood.
You know what?
But Brandon, your Nets, are they ever going to figure this out, buddy?
Did Nick setting me up? Don't talk to me about the Nets and the defense. Is it me?
Okay, we'll stick with Kevin's birthday.
It's getting close, Brandon. It's getting awful close.
All that aside, we got to start in Seattle. All right. So yesterday, guys, we're out here. We're doing the show. Yada, yada. Boom. Brandon drops a bomb. Russell Wilson might be on his way out of Seattle. What? He said the Seahawks received calls for Russ the last couple of days. Then we heard reports Russ is ticked off about the way his team's protecting him. Strap in, folks. This story's taking flight. Here is Russ yesterday on the Dan Patrick Show. Listen to this.
Yeah, I definitely believe they've gotten calls for sure. I think that, I think anytime you're, a player that, tries to produce every week and has done it for, consistently, I think people are going to call for sure. And I think it's part of the process.
Yeah, but you're a franchise quarterback. You're a Hall of Fame quarterback. You're not available, are you?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm available or not. That's a Seahawks question. But I think more than anything else is, I think at the end of the day, you want to win. You play this game every day to wake up to win. You play this game, to be the best in the world. I hate sitting there watching other guys play the game. There's nothing worse.
By the way, you looked miserable at the Super Bowl watching.
Yeah, there's a picture of Sierra and Roger talking. I'm sitting there pissed off. I'm watching this game, wishing that I was in there playing.
Brandon, you said the same thing watching him at the Super Bowl. He really did. He looked distracted. He looked miserable, as Dan said. How close do you think the Seahawks really are to losing Russell Wilson?
Yeah, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I said Pete Carroll is on the verge of botching the Russell Wilson era. Like, he really is. You think about the Legion of Boom. That was that era. And once you dismantle that team and you give the ball solely to Russell Wilson, now you're saying lead us. And when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, you can't ask this guy to hand the ball off on first and second, third down. You can't continue to go draft after draft after draft and not building up that offensive line. You have to give him everything he needs to be successful. This is really interesting. That interview he did with Dan yesterday was interesting because we've never seen this part of Russell, Nick. We've seen Russell Wilson, the husband. We've seen Russell Wilson, the business, the father. We've seen Russell Wilson, the teammate. We've never seen Russell Wilson, the businessman. Every interview Russell has ever done was always buttoned up. It's always, let me try to figure out how I can eliminate the distractions. What he did right there was actually peel back the curtains and say, look, I am frustrated. Yep. Every interview he's ever done always ended with "Go Hawks, go Hawks." Go Hawks. That wasn't that.
Exactly
he didn't do that yesterday,
exactly
Nick.
Right.
Nick, that was Russell Wilson telling you, I want to see at the table, and if business can't be done the right way, then it's time for me to move on. That's what I took from that interview.
That is the Go Hawks thing. I was thinking the same thing. He always has been the consummate teammate, consummate pro. Just won the damn Walter Payton Man of the Year award, in addition to being a great player. So in honor of Kevin Wild's birthday, we're going to play his favorite game on or off the air. We're going to play some role play. Because here's the deal. Here is what Russell Wilson, if he was happy, would have said when asked about people calling about Russell Wilson. So people are calling about you, Russ. Well, that's flattering. You know, you always want to be wanted, but, you know, they know what I know, what the Seahawks know. I'm a Seahawk for life. They can, you know, anyone's allowed to call, but I imagine those are very short conversations. And while, you know, I'm not the GM of this team, I can say with full faith and confidence, John Schneider, Pete Carroll are not trading me for anyone. So I'm flattered, but I'm not going anywhere. He could have said that, Wilds.
That's right.
He chose not to, and to me, that was a very active, clear choice.
I totally agree with you. It's what we're not hearing from Seattle. I think Seattle's wasting their time trying to figure out how big of a fire they have on your hands. But here's the thing about fires in real life. Whether you got a little campfire and a spark jumps out and set a little bit of the grass on fire, or your house is ablaze in a raging inferno, guess what? The fire department sends the same fire truck because they don't want any fire whatsoever. Get the Dalmatian out of the way. We're showing up. We're putting it all out. Seattle is not doing that. Like, well, is this a little thing? Is this a big thing? Figure it out, fellas, because whether it's the personnel, whether it's the protection, whether it's the offensive philosophy, you got a fire on your hands. You need to put it out. And I know the nerds are going to be like, try to find an argument why this is okay to entertain. Like, well, when you look at the cap hit and when the financials are down because of the COVID-19 crisis, we didn't have people in the stands. Actually, now the percentage of his cap, and if you win a Super Bowl, like,
they're all contested.
I don't care. Figure it out. The guy won you a Super Bowl, Nick, and he made $700,000. So if he's making a lot now and he's eating up your cap, so be it. You got a fire. You need to put it out by any way you can.
But wait. There's another layer here from that interview yesterday. Russ also talked about wanting to be more involved in piecing together the roster around him. If he's going to cook, he wants a hand in picking the ingredients. So listen to what else he had to say here.
Are you involved in personnel decisions? Have you been involved in personnel decisions?
Not as much. I don't, I think that,
do you want to be involved, Russ?
Yeah, I think it helps. I think it helps to be involved more. But I think that dialogue should happen more often, in my opinion.
All right, so we call Nick our in-house GM for a reason. Nick, I'll throw to you on this one. You think Russell should be involved in Seahawks personnel decisions?
Yeah, and it's not because I think he'd be good at it. He might be good, he might be terrible. Guess what? Doesn't matter. Once again, in honor of Kevin Wild's birthday, for Kevin Wild's birthday, I was going to get him a very fancy Dyson hairdryer. They're like $500, but they're amazing. But then I heard Wilds doesn't believe in using a hairdryer. But I was like, you know what? For a man who loves his hair, he would appreciate it. Guess what? Russell Wilson loves the offensive line. You know what we should get him for his birthday? John Schneider should call him and say, Russ, I don't even know when Russ's birthday is. Early birthday present. Our second-round pick, it's yours. You don't talk to anybody. You just send us a name day of the draft. Is it your cousin? Is it an offensive lineman from Alabama? Is it a tight end? Do you flip a coin?
Right.
Do you call Daniel Jeremiah? Whatever you want. Because guess what? Maybe he gets it right. Maybe he gets it wrong. But you know what he gets, Brandon? Happy. We said it yesterday.
Yeah.
Money, power, respect. And it was not even in regards to Russell Wilson, but they've given him the money, but he's so good, he deserves all three. So you give him the money, now you give him a little power, that shows the respect. And if he wants to be in on the free agent room, no problem. Whatever you want, Russell, because we go as you go. That's the answer.
Look, here's the deal. It's like they keep trying to bargain. That's what the Seattle Seahawks do. And that's one of the reasons why they got in this position as far as like being successful year after year after year. But it comes a point where you got to grow up. What is the bargain? You try to go get me, Brandon Marshall. You try to come get me after 13 years. I'm done. I can't really help out Russell Wilson. You go get Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen's done. He can't really help out Russell Wilson. You go get Josh Gordon. I love Josh Gordon, but he has some personal issues, some things that he has to face off the field. So you try to go get those type of guys. And then offensive linemen. Go look at the offensive linemen that they bring in. These are guys that are coming off of injury. These are guys that had Pro Bowl years 3-4 years before, and they feel like they can now get back to being themselves. They have to make it a priority to give Russell exactly what he needs. This is a guy that's saying, I want to win now. So to answer your question, should he be a part of it? Yes. There's a few guys that should have a seat at the table. Not everyone are quarterbacks, but when you add so much value to an organization, you should be a part of it. Jay Cutler in Chicago, hell, I was walking in the building one day and I saw Jay Cutler in the offseason walking out, and I'm like, what are you doing here? He said, well, I just sat down with Coach Mark Trestman. I sat down with Bruce Arians. I sat down with Todd Bowles. So I was a part of the interview process. That blew my mind. That was the first time that I saw a player have a seat at a table that big. So Russell Wilson,
and Brandon,
here's the issue here's the issue, and I'll give it to you. The issue is this. It's, you'll come to me and give me a seat at the table when you want to bring in Greg Olsen. But then you're not really listening to me when we're talking about guys that may cost $8, $9, $10 million. Now you're saying, oh, Russ, we don't know if we can do that right now. And that is the problem.
And just very quickly, there's precedent for this. For a younger quarterback, what did the Chiefs do before they sent in their 32nd pick of the draft? They called Patrick. They're like, hey, we're thinking about a running back here. And what did he say? Yep, I'm with you. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And so, he had been in the league 3 years, and they did that. So there is precedent, Jenna, for a team empowering the face of their franchise to be a pseudo part of front office.
Win that.
All right, in honor of Kevin Wild's birthday, I'll tell you that Russell's birthday, November 29th. Russ, not the only quarterback who may be on the move. Wait till you guys hear what the Eagles are looking for as they shop their quarterback, Carson Wentz. Oh, it's high. That's next. First things first. Hey, First Things First listeners, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com, reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. All right, we'll take a turn, talk some Philadelphia Eagles now. Man, things are getting nutty down there in Philly. First, you get rid of your coach because you're keeping your quarterback. Then you say, forget it, we're getting rid of the quarterback too. Carson Wentz on the market, but so far no nibbles. Why? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because the Birds are looking for 2 first-rounders for him? Nick, you say it's preposterous. Are the Eagles crazy to think Wentz is worth 2 first-round picks?
To quote a wise broadcaster, or misquote, the unmitigated gall it takes to demand 2 first-round picks for a guy who last year was the worst quarterback in the NFL is beyond me. Now, I've said for months, even when many former GMs were out there saying there's no way they trade him, they don't take on the cap hit of trading him, that they could and they would, and it made sense to trade him, particularly early this offseason before mid-March when a roster bonus kicks in on the 3rd day of the league year. Brandon, I still believe they are going to trade him. But the discussion from 2 months ago was, are they going to have to attach a pick of their own, Brock Osweiler style, to get off the contract? I don't think it's that bad. I think they can probably get a single second-round pick for Carson Wentz. If someone offers them a first, they need to hang up that phone and say yes and hang up that phone immediately. But the idea that they are getting what you got for Jalen Ramsey for Carson Wentz is lunacy and will never, ever happen.
All right, so look, you quoted one of your guys. What do you say? The unmitigated gall. Let me quote one of my favorite guys on television. What the hell we doing, bro? I think that's you, Nick. Isn't that your thing? What are we doing here? Are we serious right now? You're asking for 2 first-round picks? Like, if it was 2 years ago, I think you can demand that and potentially more. But when you think about the reports that came out this year and the reports that came out, last year, a little bit over a year ago, then you really have to question if this is the right guy. Now, on the field, people are like, well, Brandon, he threw so many picks. He doesn't seem like he has any poise in the pocket. Those are things that people think they can fix, because when you turn on the film from college, when you turn on the film from year 1, year 2, you're like, yo, this dude can do it. That offensive line was banged up. They had no wide receivers. So on the field, people feel like they can help this guy, Wilds. But off the field is the biggest concern. When you go back, and I lean into that report from the Philly Voice again, they talk about uncompromising, selfish, and then also, what is the thing? Playing favorites. That's a big deal. I talked to 2 people in the organization that was there back in 2018, 2019, and they said this is absolutely true. We witnessed this year that talent only takes you so far. Tom Brady led his team to Super Bowl 55 off of leadership. Leadership is everything. I was a guy, Wilds, at the beginning of my career, the first 4 years, I didn't understand that dynamic in the locker room and how important it was. And then once I realized that it was the most important thing out there, then that's when I start leaning into it and start understanding that that's where people win, and that's how you separate yourself from the good to the great. And if Carson Wentz is a guy that can't come in the locker room and bring people together and galvanize his troops, then he's not worth the one. Doing here.
Yeah, I thought, Brandon, to the leadership thing, I thought him not dressing for the final game of the year, just in case Jalen went down or something happened, I thought that was a chance to sort of have rebrand himself as a good leader and a team guy, and it didn't happen. Nick, to your point about the picks, I didn't know if these were NFL reports or those new T-Mobile ads. Like, hold on, what? We're getting picks or you want picks? I can't quite hear you on this. The message is all screwed up. Because I thought the picks were the tax that you were paying Goff style for eating that big salary. Because I think the Eagles are confusing his value on the market. Because I think there's sort of 3 tiers of values, and you tell me what you think. The stars that are available, Deshaun Watson, Russ, if Aaron Rodgers is somehow available, there's almost, you can't pay enough or trade enough assets of how much those guys are worth. The second place is potential. Your Justin Fields, like, who knows? It's a safe pick for the GM. There's no downside. Like, oh, I don't know, Tua didn't work out, or maybe we can make it work out. The third, in the lowest value, is the reclamation project. We saw it with Jameis, who signed for $1 million, Cam for $1 million, and Carson Wentz, when you throw as many interceptions as you do touchdowns and you're sacked 50 times and there's locker room issues, I don't think you fall from star. You're not potential. You're a reclamation. So I think the asking price is going to be severely suppressed.
And I do think there is an element of, I'm going to use a weird analogy here, like the monopoly bargaining element. Like you want to sell Park Place, and you're like, I'll sell it to you for $3,000. And you're like, man, I hope I get $800. And where your ask is so high that you're hoping you're like, that you are almost mind melding your opposition into thinking $1,200 is a good price. I think that's probably what's happening here. But I do think when Brandon brings up the non-football concerns, it is apropos to reference all the stories we are currently hearing about Tom Brady. If part of what makes Brady great is how loyal his teammates are to him, how much people love him, how great of a leader he is. If we all agree that on just pure arm talent alone, there's a handful of quarterbacks in recent history that would outclass Brady in the old quarterback competitions, but yet Brady has 7 rings, then you must do the inverse of that, which is even if you have a ton of arm talent, if all the other things, Brandon, that go into being a quarterback you stink at, and by the way, you're hurt all the time, and by the way, ball security is job security, and you weren't good at that last year, then what is your actual value? Your actual value is that you were the 2nd overall pick and you had 1 brilliant season. And people don't want to give up on that at 28 years old. So be it. But those other things take a real hacksaw to the rest of your value that you have to overcome.
Yeah, we had an opportunity to interview Bruce Arians last night on Inside the NFL. And the guys asked him, just tell us about Tom Brady. What did you learn about Tom Brady? And what Bruce said was he's just one of the guys. Like, literally one of the guys. You walk in the locker room, and he's one of the guys. Like, that is the most important thing. At the quarterback position, because we're talking about Russell Wilson, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, talking about Deshaun Watson. Like, these guys want more power. They are in an interesting position. They're like a notch above a player, and then they're a notch below a coach. They have to be able to lead down. They have to be able to lead up. But at the end of the day, the job is to win championships, and you got to make sure that those 53 guys in those locker room, they're marching to the same beat of the drum, right? So that's the thing that these guys got to deal with. And if you can't be a guy, then you can't win in the National Football League. Uncompromising, selfish, and playing favorites? No, you got to be able to look at me and say, Brandon, I'm going to come to you. I know you're the number 1 receiver, but at the end of the day, I got Eric Decker on the other side. And Eric Decker, he need to get his touches too. So you got to be able to work the entire locker room and meet guys where they're at, Jenna.
And we talk about it all the time. Sometimes those intangibles, the leadership, those extra things Brady has are the things you just can't teach someone. Like we say with Durant or Kawhi. Like those are just not the things that they're born to do. All right, time for Nick's NBA medals. Steph had 32, but it was fired under video, so they didn't really count. Steph had 32 last night in the win over the Spurs, including those 2 when he didn't even have to look at the hoop. No medal for Steph. I tell my wife that all the time. Nick, who did get one, though?
No medal for Steph. We go with the bronze medalist and a man who currently would be the silver medalist in league MVP, Joel Embiid. A humble 25-17-6, got to the line a bunch as the best team in the East, remains the best team in the East. Silver medalist, Jeremy Grant.
Whoa.
I should have known not to doubt you, Jeremy Grant. I should have known you're a Cuse guy. He left Denver because he wanted to be the number 1 option. I said, what are you thinking, man? All he's done is double his points per game. He had 32 last night. He's hit at least 2 threes, I believe, in every game since the first game of the season. Jeremy Grant with the silver medal. And the gold medalist for currently the best team in the NBA record-wise, winners of 16 of 17, Donovan Mitchell, 36-9, in a pretty dominating win over the all of a sudden pretty damn mediocre Boston Celtics.
What
you could have seen that coming when they've got 2 top of the pyramid guys. Yeah, that's right. Take that, Shaquille O'Neal. Donovan Mitchell says, put that in your pipe and smoke it, Shaq. That's a gold medal for Nick Wright. Jenna Wolfe, there's the gold. There's your podium.
I love it. I love seeing Donovan up there. Wilds, who came real close but not quite there?
I mean, is this guy not the best person on planet Earth? Jimmy Butler gets fouled. He's trying to get the flagrant. Look at He's the best. He is the absolute best. He can play fierce competitor. He's joking around. He's the absolute best. Conspiracy hat there. Look at that. He pops up. Conspiracy theory, Jimmy's a big soccer guy, knows the strategic value of a flop, but also like humor, keeping it light. The guy is my absolute favorite player. I want to get him on the show. Let's put in some interview requests for Jimmy.
I love it. That's great.
All right, we got to get back to the NFL, where Russell Wilson may not be the only big name on the big market this offseason. That's next. First things first.
Black History Month is a perfect time to reflect on all of our black heroes. To change the world, you must first change your world. And no one has changed my world more than my father, Charles Vernon Wiley. A man who has seen a lot of change in this world, from a childhood in the segregated South in the 1940s to present day as a recent retiree after 45 years of service. No matter what would occur over the years, my father would highlight what should always stay the same, which is to focus on family as your foundation. In a world seeking to invent newer products and better things, it's important to recognize those who are simply committed to producing better people. Salute to my hero that showed me that more action comes with less words, and for highlighting the most powerful creator of change in this world, the foundation of it all that produces people of character, the family. Salute, Pop Duke.
Great message from our friend Marcellus Wiley. All right, guys, we are breaking out a fun new segment. We're calling it Sliding Scale. I say words, you pick a number. It's pretty self-explanatory. We got to start with quarterbacks who might be on the move. Brandon, here we go, buddy. Scale of 1 to 10. How confident are you that your guy Russ will be a Seahawk next season?
Yeah, I started this week at a 7.5, and after his interview with Dan Patrick, I'm at a 5 right now. We've never seen Russ show the businessman. We've seen him the father, we've seen him the husband, but not the businessman. And he answered, he said, I'm frustrated. Man, I remember a time, Nick, and I'll be quick here. I remember a time it was week 3, week 4. We're flying in from a game. It's like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's going home. Russ and I were like, let's get a jump start on the week. Let's go hit the tubs, hot tub, cold tub, contrast. So I'm sitting there. I'm old. I'm done. I knew this was my last year. I said, Russ, my body hurts. There's no cameras. There's nobody around. He said, Brandon, what are you doing? He said self-talk. Everything's positive. That is who Russell is. So for you to see him on a national show talk about, being frustrated and leaning into something that could potentially come off negative, that's a big deal.
So Brandon's obviously right about all the analysis there. I still think the number is a 9 because I don't think the Seahawks are insane. It would be categorically insane to let this get worse than it is. I told Wilds this before the show. I think we've all seen the GIF on the internet of the guy. He's wearing like a chef's outfit in his kitchen with a pot of boiling grease that's boiling over, and he's debating whether or not he's going to drop the chicken in. And he ends up dropping the chicken in and the whole kitchen explodes. Right now, the Seahawks are the pot of boiling grease. And they have the choice. Are we dropping the chicken in? Or are we very carefully turning the burner off? Turn the burner off, Seattle, and everything will be fine. Yeah, little charred curtains, that's it. Give Russ whatever he needs. He wants to make a draft pick? Fine. He wants to pick a free agent? Fine. He wants Sierra to be the head scout. You know what? See if it works in her schedule. Whatever it takes to keep Russ happy, make it so do it. So it's a 9, Wilds. I think they'll do that.
Seriously, I'm going lower. I'm going with a 6. The fact that Seattle is getting so many calls is just really weird. Like, we know Mahomes is not getting any calls. We don't think Brady's getting any calls. I don't think Washington is fielding calls for Chase Young. I don't think Seattle's fielding calls for Joe Burrow. So the fact that there's multiple reports that they're getting multiple calls from multiple teams and Russ is out there on an interview tour, we could easily just clam up and not say anything. Makes me think that it smells like a 6. Smells like a 6.5, but I brought it down. It's feeling very like a 6 to me, like very Drake-ish.
I like it. We're all over the scale on that one. Let's see how we do with this. All right, Deshaun Watson. The QB wants out of Houston, but Houston doesn't want out of their QB. Brandon, scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you Deshaun Watson will be a Texan next season?
This is a 1, Jenna. The man told us what he wanted. He said, I don't want to be here. Trade me. He said that. We know that. So move on. Stop trying to hold this guy. Like, there's this word that get thrown around with our executives. Nick used it earlier on in the show, the precedent. This is the precedent. If we set the precedent, if we let you go, the guys that follow is going to ask for the same thing. Well, Stafford he asked for his ticket out. He got out. Aaron Rodgers, if he wants to get out, he can get out. Let Deshaun Watson go. This makes sense. There's a changing of guard now. No longer are players saying, you know what, I'm going to put all my faith and hope into the organization, this general manager and this owner that's going to dictate what my career is going to look like, what my legacy is going to be. Now guys are teaming up saying, you know what, let's do what the basketball guys are doing. Let's go find the perfect situation. Deshaun told us exactly what he wants. He wants out. Let the man out.
So I think it's a 3. Because A, I never put it past the Texans organization to act totally illogically. B, I think that they are currently like almost acting spiteful. When you see they fired the equipment manager who happened to be one of Deshaun's favorite people, it's almost like they keep upping the ante. And C, I'll go to the other team in Houston. James Harden is not currently on the Rockets. But he did start the season on the Rockets, and it took that press conference to finally break the dam. So I wonder if come week 1, they're going to dare Deshaun not to show up. And if he doesn't show up, then they start doing the real trade conversations. So I'm going to say there is a chance, Wilds, that he starts the season with the Texans, even if he shouldn't.
Yeah, I think it's interesting if James Harden's situation has informed the thinking for the Texans. Because, look, the Rockets aren't terrible, and Harden's happy, and, you know, I think Nick Caserio, I think Raphael Stone feels like, all right, I probably made the right move and I traded a superstar. I put it at a 0 because I think there's a strong chance that he sits out if he doesn't move. But the best move is the Tom Brady factor. You got a great coach. You go to Florida. There's also no state tax like there was in Texas. I did 0 because he might sit out. I went 0. No, I'm not doing the Jets. No more Jets Photoshops. The graphics team refuses to make them for you, Brandon.
They ran out of green. They got to talk some OBJ. You guys, this tweet was the latest from Odell. Odell said, "I'm just being patient for my turn." Although I honestly feel like we hear this every year going into every season from Odell. Brandon, scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that Odell will be a Brown next season?
That is true, and something got to give. Do you follow this guy on Instagram? Do you see how he's working out right now? This dude is working out like a madman.
Yes.
He is so locked in. He is so focused. And Jenna, he is not going back to Cleveland to catch 70 balls.
No
All this work that he's putting in right now is not to go back to catch 70 balls and get 3 or 4 targets a game. So this is at a 3. Nick, I think this dude is going to be out of here soon.
So I also had it at a 3 Sunday afternoon, but it's now a 4 because I think one of his potential landing spots, sadly for me, has been removed from the chessboard, and that's the Chiefs. I think if the Chiefs had won the Super Bowl, they would have just tripled down on what they've done. Speed, talent, outscore you. And I think they would have offered the 32nd pick, their first-round pick, for Odell. But because the Chiefs lost the way they did, I don't think they can justify using any resources on anything other than offensive linemen and getting stronger and tougher. So with the Chiefs off the board, the odds of him staying in Cleveland go up just a tick. So I call it a 4, Wilds.
Okay. I went with a 7, but it's a strategic 7 because the stuff that I wish for rarely happens. So if I put it really low, this wouldn't happen. Look for Bill Belichick, who's got a ton of cap space in the 15th pick, and Josh McDaniels, who had to run the ball all year. This is going to be like when you start to like diet before Thanksgiving. And then you know what? You get to Thanksgiving and you eat the entire table. That was our run game all this year. Like, you guess what? Next year, it's Thanksgiving morning. We're going to start with the pies right away. Boom, 50-yard bomb right to Odell. Start the season fresh.
From who?
I don't quite know who's throwing the ball yet. I'm not sure who's throwing.
Edelman. Hall of Famer Julian Edelman.
The javelin? You're running out of options. Brooklyn Nets, my friends. The Nets have lost 3 in a row. Wait till you hear why Kyrie says things have been so rough for them lately. It is a litany of things. But first, I will be simple here. Gronk wins Super Bowl. Gronk goes to Disney World. Spike, Gronk, spike.
Mickey and Minnie, are you guys ready to learn how to cross spike? Take the football, grasp it with your palm, run spike right off the belly of the football, like this. Yeah! Good job, Mickey. Minnie, what do you think? Yeah.
First things first, we are in the NBA. No. You probably know that from the basketball. Our favorite topic on this show, the Brooklyn Nets. All right, guys, they lost their 3rd straight game last night. Still no KD. He's out due to contact tracing. Still no defense. Brandon says that's not important now. Still not in first place in the
roster
East.
Structure.
They got time. They got time. Time's the only thing they've got. Here's Kyrie on the problems that is plaguing the Nets.
We are the team that the NBA put the most games on. We're the team that gets someone taken out during COVID, during the games. We're the team that has to deal with the refs. We're the team that is literally battling against so many odds that at this point, it's not even a reason to continue to comment on them. They are what they are. And as a warrior that I am, and that the energy that I have alongside my teammates, we just have to turn that corner. And we haven't done it yet, but we will. And I'm telling you, the league's going to be on notice when that happens. So just got to take it day by day.
I mean, he literally listed everything to complain about the fact that his team's nickname is just a net. It's just a net. You didn't even throw that one in there, Kyrie. Chris Broussard is joining us now. All right, Broussard. Kyrie laid it all out for you. What'd you make of his comments?
Well, look, I got to be truthful and fair to Kyrie. I listened to the entire 8 minutes and 12 seconds of his post-game interview.
Wait, Nick has to put his violin down. Okay, go ahead.
He was great. He said all the right things. And I don't mean politically correct things, but he said all of the things that need to be said right now about the Nets. He talked about their poor and horrible defense. He talked about them not being able to take all these bad teams lightly, which they've done all year. He talked about not settling for being average and mediocre. So he said the right things, but for that little 10, 12-second stretch where he just went off the rails and started making all these excuses. So, I get the frustration with your best player, a guy who's already had COVID, just by a strange incident having to sit out the last 2.5 games, and it'll probably be the next game as well. So I get that frustration in a shortened season where they need to be on the court together. But here's what I would say to Kyrie, James Harden, Steve Nash, all these guys. Stop just randomly sitting your stars out. They don't have time to waste. Even if they had blown Detroit out last night, I don't know what I could have taken from it because Kevin Durant's not there. These 3 guys need to get used to playing with each other. And we got to start seeing them on the court on a regular basis. Obviously, we can talk about the defense. They got to start focusing on that, on practice. And the way you become a good defensive team is when you have coaches that harp on it. Most players by themselves are not going to just say, buckle down and play great defense. They got to start harping on it in practice more so than the offense.
So a few things here. One is, you're right, Kevin Durant wasn't there. And you just can't expect James Harden and Kyrie Irving to be able to deal with Jeremy Grant and a Plumlee brother without KD. So I get it. You can't hold this loss against them. The Nets obviously were outmanned and outgunned last night by the Detroit Pistons. And guys, I know we can't talk about the defense because how do you talk about something that doesn't exist? You just can't. I mean, they allow 120 every single night. Every night, it's 120. It's a race to 130, and we'll see if we beat you there. So, and this idea that no, they just need to buckle down. That Kyrie Irving is all of a sudden going to become something other than a horrid defensive player. That all of a sudden DeAndre Jordan is going to find the time machine Elon Musk is working on and transport himself to 2015, and that's going to be their rim protection. That's not gonna happen. And I do empathize with Kyrie. It's been a ongoing story throughout NFL or NBA history. The league's grudge and the refs' grudge against the New Jersey and Brooklyn Nets. I mean, poor Jason Kidd had to deal with it. Vince Carter had to deal with it. KG and Paul Pierce had to deal with it. They've always hated that team, and the refs officiate them accordingly. But I'm just asking to Brandon, to Broussard, at what point does the fire get big enough for you to say there might be a fire? At what point do you got to get to 7th in the standings? Do you have to lose more than twice to the Wizards? Just tell me when. Brandon, when can the fire start to engulf you enough to where you're a little concerned? A little concerned.
We talked about this 3 weeks ago. I did the same thing. I said, wake me up in mid-March. You know this, Nick.
Well,
these guys aren't playing.
What's today's date?
Like, what do we know? What do we know these guys for? We know them for their offense. Now, there's some role players. There's some guys on the bench that they need to do a better job. They need to play more efficient on that side of the court. But when you look at KD, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, we know them for their offense. That's why we talk about them. So when you're a superstar and you score the ball, score the ball the way you do, when do you get going on the defensive side? When there's elevated competition and there's people in the crowd. You can check the stats this year. When there's competition, they play well. When they're playing against teams like the Detroit Pistons, they lose because they're just not doing it. But, Nick, I do believe in defense, but defense is not the strength of this team, and it's not why they're going to win the championship. You know, if we want to talk about it, let's show you some things that we can fix and what will be improved come mid-March. Like, these are things that just can't happen. DeAndre Jordan, you're right. Like, what is that? Look at this. Ball movement. There should be movement on the defensive side. You got Kyrie just standing there with no type of passion, no type of oomph to trying to play a little defense. Look at this right here. Look at the backside help, Kyrie. Where are you doing? Like, keep your eyes on your luggage. DeAndre Jordan again. So I'm showing you these clips because these are things that will be fixed. You got guys just standing around, and this is what it looks like in the NBA in January, in February. This is a universal issue. There's 3 or 4 teams out there, Wiles, that's playing really good defense night in and night out. That's the situation here.
Brandon, you should be a little bit nervous. Not wildly nervous, but a little bit nervous. And Broussard, you know when teams bring in like celebrities for pep talks, like you bring in The Rock or Tony Robbins, I think the Nets should bring in Aaron Rodgers to give his relax speech. He'll be like, guys, relax. I'm engaged now, but relax with an asterisk, because here's why. And you brought this up, Broussard, so we looked up, me and Dusty crunched the numbers. The Nets are 7-6. LeBron's first year with the Big Three, they were 8-5 after 13 games. So look, it's just one game. You've done it well. Also, their Big Three is actually just the Big Two. They've only played 6 games together, and they're 4-2 in those 6 games. So I feel like there's plenty of time. However, here's the asterisk. This play was getting a lot of play on social media where DeAndre Jordan is basically, I'm not saying giving up, but it's not, this is not Defensive Player of the Year. I feel like, go ahead, get one. There you go. It's like something you do with your buddy, or if you're playing basketball with like your mom, and like, oh, good shot, Mom. And then there you see Harden talking to DeAndre Jordan about defense, which I don't know if I'm like, hold on, is this James Harden lecturing me about defense? So you're in a bad spot. So I think there's time to relax. but there is cause for concern. So I know those feel like they're two competing statements, but the worry meter is ratcheting up by the day, Broussard.
Wilds, I like this interaction between Harden and DeAndre Jordan. I like James getting on him. And if you looked at DeAndre's comments after the game, he took ownership. He said, look, he's like, this is what I'm here for. He didn't say it this way, but he's giving you 7 points a game. All right, if he's not defending, what in the world is he out there for? So he took ownership of it. He listened to Harden. You know, guys should be able to, you got to be able to talk this way amongst yourselves. So I like that. Let me throw out a little something that's going to wipe the smirk off of Nick's face and cleanse him of this nasty attitude he has toward the Nets. All right, Nick, the Nets are 7-1 with all the disjointed rosters and, you know, he's here one game, he's not here. Durant's sitting out, James Harden's out, Kyrie's out. 7-1 with teams with a better than 500 record. That includes Denver, Utah, Boston, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and the Clippers. Every elite team except the Lakers. They've beaten. So slow down, buddy. I don't want you to get embarrassed.
That should help them. That should help them in the AP top 25 poll when it's released and you talk about strength of victory. So I'm excited for them. In the actual standings, they are currently behind the San Antonio Spurs, who aren't even trying to win this year. But can I defend DeAndre Jordan before we finish? Brandon, before I go to you. Guys, DeAndre Jordan is not good anymore. It's not that he's not trying. He's not good. He's on the team because Katie and Kyrie love him. And this idea, this is like in the playoffs last year. If we're like, man, why isn't J.R. Smith being better? Because Swish wasn't good anymore. He was there because he's Bron's guy. So this idea of no, guys, once Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni get the message to Kyrie Irving and DeAndre Jordan and James Harden, they're going to turn a switch to go from the worst defense in basketball to passable. It's fantasy. Brandon, it's fantasy.
This is all 1-2.
Pure and utter.
This is all 1-2. The highlight that Wild showed and a few plays that I showed, that's about 1-2. That's about effort. That's what happens on the defensive side. You said it, Chris. When you average 7 points a game, you know what you're there for. You can't be backside when James Harden is guarding Blake Griffin and you just sit there and watch. You can't back up when the guy is entering the paint and say, okay, you can have an easy layup, a free dunk. You can't do that. This is all effort. This is 1-2. He looks a little bit out of shape as well. So you got James Harden who made this jump and said, look, I am going all out right now. He's playing defense. He's being a leader. And then you got guys like that, and he's not the only one that's lackadaisical. Those three guys are going to give you 120 points a night. They didn't do that last night, but that's easy for them. The other guys just got to do their job, and they will once they start cleaning this up. Chemistry and continuity is on the way. Mid-March, Nick, wake me up. Wake me up, buddy. Wake me up.
You'll be in 8th place by
Mid-March.
Broussard, stick around. Got to talk about a guy who's in shape. LeBron James. Could he somehow win MVP in year 18? 18, as they say in French. It's next. First things first. Just felt like throwing that out there as I can. Back here, first things first. All right, we're running our fast break with Chris Broussard. Let's start with the Kang, Broussard. Fox Bet Sportsbook's got LeBron James as the favorite to take home the MVP. You got Embiid, Joker, Knicks adult Slovenian son Luka, and KD all hot on his heels. So, Broussard, is it looking like a real possibility LeBron could win MVP in year 18?
Oh, absolutely. As an official voter, as the only official voter on this panel, absolutely. All right. Look, it's a two-man race, and I go back and forth. 2.5, 3 weeks ago, I had LeBron. A week and a half ago, I had Embiid. Now I'm slightly more on LeBron. So those two are battling, and here's the edge for LeBron to me. Joel Embiid's missed 5 of their 25 games. He's on pace to play in an 82-game schedule, 65, 66 games. That's going to be too many to miss if LeBron keeps playing this well. LeBron's playing every game. He's leading the Lakers in, points. PER, assist, and he's like a half a rebound away from leading them over Anthony Davis. So LeBron is playing lights out. Right now, I'd say he's got the slight edge over Joel Embiid.
Well, I don't have a vote because Broussard told the NBA not to give me one, but I'm fair on this. Last year, I argued it should be Giannis, not LeBron. This year, right now, it is unquestionably LeBron, and the only person who's close is Embiid. Steph's team right now is the 8 seed. Giannis is essentially ineligible after winning it 2 years in a row, fair or not. Durant's missing time, and Durant's been unbelievable, but he's missed a lot of time, even though it's not his fault. Jokic has been extraordinary. His team's currently the 7th seed. It is LeBron right here with the only other person in the room, Joel Embiid. But LeBron right now, Brandon, should be the massive favorite.
Wow. Listen, this thing is wide open. Are we going to just gloss over Jokic? Really? Look at the last 5. First of all, Jokic started the season tormenting teams, averaging 27 points. But the last 5 games is the thing that we need to highlight. Like, he is stepping into his own right now. We're talking about 36 points per game. We're talking about almost 56% from 3. Come on, starting off the year tormenting teams, and then his last 5 games taking it to a whole nother level. So to me, it's wide open. But if it's anybody's MVP to lose, it's this young man's right here.
Okay.
Can I jump in, please?
I'm a little bit confused here. And Nick, I know you like to make statistical salad. I'll throw out some stats, and next thing you know, you make a beautiful salad out of it. So I will give you these stats for the MVP of if LeBron is the MVP. He is 13th in points between Kawhi and PG, or sandwiched between those. Last year, Giannis MVP, he was 4th in points. He's 7th in assists. Last year, he led the league in assists, didn't get MVP. Now he's 7th. He's got 0.2 of an assist more than Draymond. He's 24th in rebounds. Last year, Giannis won MVP. He was 4th in rebounds. He's shooting 40% from 3. Good for him. The game's evolving, and he's very old. So maybe it's a narrative MVP. But those are the stats.
No, it's not a narrative MVP.
Can you turn those stats, which don't sound like MVP stats, into a salad? Turn it into an MVP salad. I don't see it.
Yeah, he is the only guy in the league in the top 25, as you just listed, of all 3 categories, other than Luka and Jokic. Luka, his team is under 500, and you just gave it to me. You just said he was 24th in rebounds, and I went from there.
24th.
So those are your numbers, buddy. So okay. All right, so then get rid of rebounds. He's not there for rebounds. Okay. Just do points and assists. It's just Luka and Jokic ahead of him. Brandon is arguing for Jokic. I would argue, yeah, he's played great the last 5 games. They've also lost 3 in a row. But he's clearly the best player. They're clearly the best team. And his second best player is having a down year. That's not a narrative MVP, you doofus. That's the obvious MVP. Making me angry trying to use these numbers. The numbers, it's not. Numbers. You know who's supposed to get the award for the most points per game? There is an award. It's called the scoring title. It's not called the MVP. My God.
And I'm going to say something I rarely say on this show. Nick is right, all right? LeBron is MVP right now. Brandon, come on. Nick said they've lost 3 straight games in Denver. They're 1 game over 500. You're not winning MVP 1 game over 500. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. Jokic isn't even in the conversation.
Left. We're talking about MVP. Who is having the best year right now?
We got to move on.
That's what MVP is about.
Guys, there is a rumor out there that the Clippers, Broussard's Clippers, could make a blockbuster trade to try to go get Kyle Lowry from the Raptors. This from the Bleacher Report. Quote, the Clippers might have a cleaner path to landing Lowry. I think Toronto would want to send him west, but Masai is going to do a deal that brings back the best package. The Clippers might be able to provide both. Broussard, would trading for Lowry push your Clippers past the Lakers as favorites out west?
Well, there are issues here. They don't really have a first-round pick to give up that Toronto would probably want. They got to match the $30 million that Lowry makes in a trade. So you're talking about, I give up Lou Williams, who's having a down year, and Patrick Beverly, fine. But they probably have to throw in Ivica Zubac. They're a small team as it is, so you lose some size. But Lowry obviously has chemistry with Serge Ibaka, with Kawhi Leonard. They won the championship together. He could be that playmaker they need. And when playoff P struggles in the playoffs, as he's been wont to do, then you could have Lowry step up. So I don't know. I wouldn't go ahead of the Lakers yet, but it could make them better and bring them closer to the Lakers and make that series even greater than it's already going to be.
Nick. Hey, buddy, you should be nervous right now. There was a few questions concerning this team. Will they play? You know, this whole thing about load management. Well, they're playing every night. And then this whole thing, are they capable? Do they have the leadership? Well, coach is stepping in. Lou is doing a phenomenal job. Now you add this kid to this team, it's over. They were already the better team when you compare them to the Lakers. The bubble just did something to them. They were one of those teams that just didn't do well, didn't perform in the bubble. Now they are locked in, they're loaded, and you can potentially say this is the best team in the NBA. Now you say numbers don't matter and all of that, but when it comes down to pure basketball, I don't see how you guys have a chance when your number 2 guy, AD, is having his worst year. You should be nervous.
Okay, so listen, you haven't heard a lot of Clipper slander from me this year. You know why? Because this year they're really good. Unlike last year when they were just said to be good and never showed it at any point. If they added Kyle Lowry, they might be the best team in basketball. You know what would definitely make them the best team in basketball? If they added LeBron James, and they have the same chance of adding either guy. The hell is this Bleacher Report guy talking about? The best package? Hey, I can send you Patrick Beverly, Marcus Morris, Terrence Mann, and second-round picks. You know, another team. By the way, the team that actually should trade for Kyle Lowry is the Nets. Kyrie for Kyle Lowry straight up. That would make the Nets better as well, but nobody wants to have that conversation. The Clippers have no picks, and they don't have anyone to trade. It's not happening, but it'd be great for them. They should trade for Steph too, Jenna. Steph would definitely help them.
All right, speaking of
See if they can get him.
The latest topic of concern is Curry's playing time. Head coach Steve Kerr said after the loss on Monday, for me, for our organization, we're not throwing Steph out there for 40 minutes to chase wins. We got another game Tuesday. We want Steph to be playing at a high level for many years. So we're going to try to stay very disciplined and try to keep him at the 34 to 35-minute mark. Then, after their win last night, Kerr, having heard all the comments that everyone said this: I had heard so much from our fan base the last couple of days, Kevin Wildes included. I figured I should put Curry back in the game to keep them happy. Chris Broussard, what do you make of how Kerr is handling playing time for Steph Curry?
I love it. I think he's doing the right thing. Look, Steph is getting to show off and do his thing. Averaging 34 minutes in today's NBA is not abnormal, and they're not winning it this year. He knows it. Steph knows it. Yeah, they want to make the playoffs, but it's about the long game. Get Clay back next year. Get Wiseman more experience, and stay healthy. And next year, make another run at a championship. Don't wear Steph out. He's got several years left, they hope, and that's why they're playing him 34 minutes a night. I totally agree.
Don't wear him out after the arduous season he had last year of 5 games played. Folks, it's not called chasing wins. It's called trying to make the playoffs, which kind of is the point here. And the Warriors, listen, I don't think they should play him 40 minutes a night. But if he has to this year play 36 minutes a night so they make the playoffs, that's worth it. And Steph can handle it, Brandon.
It's not worth it because the outcome is going to be that you lose. You get in and then you're out after the first series. His words was misconstrued. What he wanted to say was, look, we are champions. We know what it takes, and we don't have it, Wiles. That's what happened here.
I agree. I think Steve Kerr was kind when he's like, look, I'm not going to Tom Thibodeau the guys and play him 45 minutes for a regular season win, but he's not going to throw Tom Thibodeau under the bus. Here's the other thing, though. Rather than counting Steph's minute, count the times he goes like this. After a bad decision by Kelly Oubre. Ooh, that's what you really got to get. Those are way up. Minutes might be down, but these are way up.
That is hard to do in a Blazer. Hey, where do you guys think Carson Wentz ends up next season? At the rate the Eagles are going, it'll probably be the Eagles. We'll explain next. Chris Broussard, thank you. Welcome back. All right, so yesterday we're all here hanging out, doing the show, host, when boom, Brandon drops a bomb. Russell Wilson might be on his way out of Seattle, he says. Right? Remember, Brandon, you said the Seahawks had received calls about Russ's availability in a trade. Then we hear reports Russ is ticked off about the way the team's protecting him. He wants more protection, but hang on, there's more. There's another layer. Then we hear Russ talk about wanting to be more involved in piecing together the entire roster around him. Take a listen to what he had to say on the Dan Patrick Show yesterday.
Are you involved in personnel decisions? Have you been involved in personnel decisions?
Not as much. I don't. I think that.
Do you want to be involved, Russ?
Yeah, I think it helps. I think it helps to be involved more. But I think that dialogue should happen more often, in my opinion.
All right, Brandon, what do you say? Should Russ be involved in Seahawks personnel decisions?
100%. The quarterback position is an interesting position because they have to be able to lead up. They have to be able to lead down. They have to be able to meet guys where they're at. To me, they're the CEOs of the organizations because without them, none of this stuff works. I'm just being honest here. This comes down to winning championships for Russell Wilson. This is a dude that really cares about how he comes to work every single day and the type of product that he puts out on the field. And he knows in the ultimate sports, in the sport game, that you need the guys around you to do their job. So when you think about how they've operated over the last few years, it's just not on par with what other teams are doing when they have a once-in-a-lifetime type talent at the quarterback position. So think about protection. Is he protected? Well, yeah, they go out a couple years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and they get Dwayne Brown, and I may be off by a year or two there. So they get him at the left tackle. But they've had Russell Wilson for 9 years, and they've drafted one offensive lineman in the first round. And then when you look at the skill position, they usually go try to bargain, right? They go try to go get, me, Brandon Marshall, 13 years in the league, and I'm done, on my way out. They go get Greg Olsen. Look, one and done, he's out. Josh Gordon, love Josh Gordon to death, and they take a chance with what he's dealing with. But who are you really building this team with when you have Russell Wilson? So I think that's a big issue, Nick. And the second issue is about philosophy. Russell Wilson doesn't want to hand the ball off, and I said it, and I'll continue to say it, on first down, on second down, and third and manageable. Like, this is a dude that follows what the greats are doing. This is a dude that is obsessed with being one of the greats. So, start it.
So here's the thing. You give Russell Wilson what he wants because he is more important than everyone else. Everyone in the organization. I don't know the exact power rankings, but I know who's in first place. Russell Wilson. I'm not sure who's in second. I'm not sure who's in last. They have a great punter. He's actually probably somewhere in the top 30. But Russell Wilson is number one. And so you're like, okay,
right.
How do we make him happy? Oh, he wants to be involved in personnel decisions. Well, is that going to screw us up? No, probably not. You know why? Here is a kind of unspoken truth about the Seahawks as of late. They don't draft that well. I'm not going to use the most recent draft. It's too early. The draft before the most recent one. First round pick, L.J. Collier. 2 years in, he's a pass rusher. He was supposed to replace Frank Clark. 3 sacks. The first round pick the year before, Rashad Penny. He has not exactly exploded with production from the running back position. He's not their starting running back. He's been in the league 3 years. The first pick they had the previous year, I think his name's Malik McDowell. I might have that wrong, probably because he never played a game. So the fact of the matter is, it's not like, Russ, we got a well-oiled machine here. No, you don't. Now, you do coach up players. You do tend to get the most out of the players that you bring in. Let him have a say. And the other part of this is you start to want what others have. Wilds, it might be a toxic thing, but it's the way human beings operate. And I am sure Russ saw, oh, that must have been nice when that team traded for Stephon Diggs. That must have been nice when that team traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Oh, that must have been nice when that team traded for a star defensive player, Jalen Ramsey. That team traded for Khalil Mack. That team traded for Laramie. Seahawks don't do that. No, they do the opposite. They're the one that trade away Frank Clark, right? Because they want to keep the train moving. So let Russ have a say, and if you have to bite the bullet and overpay a bit for someone this free agency, it's fine, because the only thing that matters is keeping Russell Wilson there and happy.
Yeah. So Nick, I'll throw it back to you, because I think there's two names, superstar names, that get brought up in this conversation about personnel. And one is Tom Brady and one is LeBron James. Tom Brady had very little say of what's going on in New England. He didn't like it. He comes down to Tampa. He's like, bring my guys, bring Gronk, bring AB. Arian's like, I don't love AB. Like, bring AB, win the Super Bowl. The other one is LeBron, who's out here playing Queen's Gambit. And he's like, bring this person, bring this person. This is what I need. But here's the difference between the second layer of that. With LeBron is on the floor all the time. LeBron plays defense, LeBron plays offense, LeBron plays whatever the basketball version of special teams is. Maybe cheerleading on the bench.
Yep.
Well, Tom Brady had two requests that we know of, and they're both offensive players. And he didn't have a ton of power in New England because Bill Belichick doesn't want to build the team like that. He wants to worry about special teams and field position. He wants to worry about having, a great defense, because that's what he thinks how you win Super Bowls. So if you give Russell Wilson whatever he wants, I know we joke about it when you're like hyperbolic, but where does it end? Do you make the call on Geno Smith? Do you make the call on a new safety? You make the call on Quentin Dunbar? Like, how does it play out?
So I think, Wilds, I think you are going to the end of the story when the book hasn't even started being written. Let's worry if Russell Wilson gets drunk with power once he has some type of power. Like, what you need to do right now is make him happy. And Brandon, it would appear that what he wants is to have a little general managing responsibility. If that means you end up whipping on a pick, right, exactly right, of course. I don't think he's trying to pick an inside linebacker. He's saying, this is what I need to be the best version of me, and the Seahawks are the best version of the Seahawks if I'm the best version of me. Now, Brandon, I know you love Russ. I think even you will acknowledge there's a chance he'll stink at it. LeBron famously was like Shabazz Napier, drafted. He's going to be great.
At the end of the day.
But you got to give it a try.
Nick, but at the end of the day, but that's not what he's asking for. What he's asking, Russ would rather just do his job. Russ got a lot of things going on, right? Russ talking about playing baseball, owning a baseball team. He has so much going on. Russ just wants to win. But when an organization, they're not putting you in a position to win, that's when you say, you know what? Let me have a seat at the table, because you guys haven't proven to me or anybody else that you're capable right now. Russ cares about an offensive line. Am I going to be standing upright? That's what he cares about. Are you going to give me somebody that can perform in a slot and potentially go outside and take the top off? They do have some guys that they have Tyler Lockett, they have DK Metcalf. That's what Russ cares about. He doesn't care about picking the safety. He doesn't care about picking the linebacker. Now, obviously, if you got a first-round draft pick, go ahead, Wilds.
Go ahead, Wilds.
No, but the question to you is, we know that, the first part of the season, their defense was getting chewed up. So since it's a finite pie, I think it's hard for me to wrap my head around, all right, I want more of the slices of pie dedicated to the offense, when at least for the first half of the season, your defense was an issue. So I don't know how you can just do one and not accidentally step into the other.
The pie that Russell wants, he wants a Super Bowl pie. And then speaking of pies and cakes, Jenna, take it away, Jenna.
No, Julian Edelman sent us this picture of you guys celebrating last year. We wanted to wish our guy Kevin Wilds a very happy birthday, buddy. From Julian, the Hall of Famer, and all of us. What are you doing today?
Two great Hall of Famers, I'll probably just call up Julian. We'll probably get a few workouts in, head on down to House Athlete, work on our rehab, our knee, get ready for next year.
Happy birthday, buddy. See you tomorrow.
Happy birthday.